Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I see some folks trickling in. Hope everyone, at least on the East Coast, is staying warm, and on the West Coast, you're enjoying yourself, and everyone in between having a great Wednesday, December 10th. My name is Jason Caspert. I'm the Director of Sales here at Corded, and today we're going to be talking about growth all through recruiting productive agents. I'm going to give everyone another minute or so to join. Feel free in the comments to comment in where you're joining from, and if there's anything you're hoping to learn today. But overall, it should be a productive session, and I'm looking forward to our conversation here. I see I'm working off two screens here. I see hello San Antonio, hello Ocala, Denver, Kentucky, Philly. Wow, got a lot of people joining us here. This is fantastic. We'll give everyone another 30 seconds or so, and then we will begin. Conroe, Texas. Nice. Hey, Karen. Share away. Montreal. Love it. All right, just to start, right, we're going to get things kicked off here. Who's ready to learn a little bit about a recruiting playbook? Throw it in the chat. Give me a yes if you're ready. All about growing your team with productive agents. Who's ready to roll? Let me see a yes. Ready to roll. Excited to be here. Let's see the chat below up. I love it. Thank you, John. Thank you, Lori. Let's rock and roll. 100%, Bart. Let's rock and roll. We're in the business. Cool. So nice to meet everyone. And again, happy Wednesday. My name is Jason Caspert. I'm the Director of Sales here at Corded. We're located in New York City, but we work with dozens, if not hundreds of folks within EXP all throughout the country to help them recruit profitable agents extremely effectively as well as efficiently. Today, we'll be covering a couple of topics. The first will be what you need as a framework or your pillars for growth through recruiting. Secondly, we'll be running through our system here at Corded to show you exactly how mega teams that are starting out, and individuals alike are leaning into data analytics, insights, and information to grow right here, right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to start, and please do keep the comments rolling here. Now, when it comes to growth, in doing so, you need a fantastic setup, one that is encompassing of three main pillars, just like you would in any sales effort. When it comes to recruiting, it has to be specific, it has to be relevant, and you need to be able to have a follow-up system that will allow for you to have higher set rates, better show rates, and more conversations every single day, if not every single week. Here are the three main pillars. First and foremost, you need real-time information, so you know exactly who to call and why. The most actionable lists are the ones where you know who on the receiving end of a call or email is worthwhile of your time. Secondly, once you know who to call and why, and you have real-time data as to who these people are, you need to be able to start a genuine, personalized conversation. Any agent who's worthwhile of any sort of communication knows when they are receiving a, say, drip campaign or a generic piece of outreach. I see in the chat here a couple people chiming in. Give me a yes if you know when you get an email that's meant to be sent to thousands of people. Everyone's gotten that before, right? Do you ever answer it? Who knows? Probably not. It has to be really, really, really enticing. But you know right away when you are getting a message that's not just intended for you, but intended for tons and tons of people. And then, especially with recruiting, right, or anything in sales, you got to understand how to build relationships over time. And a structured follow-up system is the best way to understand who these people are, but more importantly, be supportive, be celebratory, and also ensure that you are always top of mind whenever an agent is ready to take the next step. So these are the three main pillars that we find put people in a successful position to grow through recruiting, specifically targeting productive agents. Now, I'm going to switch my screen over here and I'm going to introduce our system, which is Corded. So Here at Corded, again, we're here in New York. We are a group of data scientists, designers, and real estate professionals. What we do is we are linked to over 230 MLSs throughout the country, and we are able to, in essence, tear apart that MLS data every single day and reconfigure it every single evening to paint a picture of every agent, office, brokerage, and brand, as well as team, franchise. Any way you could slice and dice information about real estate agents, we are here to help you with that. Now, when it comes to recruiting, we find that there are two highly convertible channels that allow for our folks at EXP to have the most success having productive conversations with the right people. The first is to lean into your sphere of influence. So who is it that maybe used to work at EXP? Who is it that you've closed the deal with? Who is it that's maybe closed the deal with an EXP agent recently? And then secondly, of the group of productive agents today, who might be a bit vulnerable and who might be, say, less busy than they were maybe yesterday or a month ago or 3 months ago. And we're going to dive into that here today. So starting with real-time information, once again, all of this updates here in real time. When we talk about leveraging a system like this, the first perspective is to go after agents. It's very simple. Up here on the top right, you can then determine who it is that you're looking for based off of location, production, experience, or even if they're a part of maybe a competing brokerage or office. When it then comes to who is it that might be within your sphere of influence, you can very easily identify to say, well, who is it, for example, over the last 2 years has closed a deal with an EXP agent? Today, we're focusing in on Memphis. I'm feeling the Memphis blues there. I was listening to a little bit of Elvis this morning. I figured why not focus here on Memphis. So very quickly, you'll be able to see that there are a number of people as recently as this week, if not late last week, who've closed a deal with an EXP agent in the greater Memphis, if not over to Mississippi area. And now that you have this real-time information, it's very easy to discern who these agents actually are. So Monica, for example, you could see that she's a managing broker. Might not be the best person to reach out to. Very, very simple. You could just move on to the next and learn about, for example, someone like Avery McAdams, who appears to be relatively new in the business. She's closed one unit in the last 12 months, but that one unit was with Charlissa. Now, Charlissa here is an agent at EXP, where Avery bought the buyer to Charlissa's listing. You can then learn more about the details of the property, understand what's happened with the transaction. And then back to that personalized approach, right? I saw a number of comments saying, hey, I know when I'm put on a drip campaign. We want to put you in a position to quickly take action in a one-to-one genuine way, which is why we've built out what we call Compose AI, which you could think of like ChatGPT, solely built on real-time MLS data, all to be genuine in your voice to speak specifically to any agent you'd like to interact with. So, for example, you can quickly read that this email or any sort of communication is not meant for any and all agents. This here is meant specifically for Avery. Why? Well, it references the deal that they closed on Cholhoma Road and the fact that they had closed the deal with Charlissa, one of the agents here at EXP who spoke highly of the way that you, Avery, handled this transaction. We then, of course, using the AI, pose a question, right? Hey, what's something that surprised you about the transaction? Or how have you gotten established there in Holly Springs? Very specific to Avery. If you're up for it, would love to have a quick call or grab a coffee, right? So the intention here is to understand who you're speaking to, why it's relevant, and of course, reference that individual for every piece of outreach you are hoping to conduct. We've gone down this route now. We've learned a lot about this agent. Another thing that we can do is go in and dive into that subset of agent who might actually be a bit vulnerable. And yes, absolutely, Mary, we can send over a couple of scripts. We should definitely chat to make sure that it's relevant for you and your market. And keep the questions coming in the chat. I hope this is certainly of a virtual conversation relative to, say, a presentation, right? And here we started again. Who is it that's interacted with an EXP agent in the greater Memphis area over the last 2 years? Great place to start. Now, secondly, it's in Memphis, there are thousands and thousands of agents. What we're going to do is we're going to dive directly into the Memphis MLS, and we'll quickly see that there's close to 5,000 agents. Even if recruiting was your full-time job, it could take you years and years and years to call every single one of these agents. And the argument I would make is it might not be the right time for most, if not all of these agents to be picking up the phone knowing that they have a million things going on in their world. So one thing that we attempt to do, and frankly do so pretty successfully, is put you in a place to figure out, of the, say, 5,000 agents in your specific sphere, who is it that's productive and would be, of course, a profitable add to your organization or team. But in addition to that, today, you're going to have a much better chance of having a productive conversation than maybe you would have in the past. So let's dive in and I can visualize what I mean by that. So of the 4,700 agents here in Memphis, we can first put in a transaction or a volume count to say, well, I want to focus on, let's call it full-time agents who have done between 2 and 8 transactions. Of these individuals, I find that those at eXp who are adding different agents to their teams or their organizations, they're getting the most success with agents who've been in the business long enough to be productive and long enough to, of course, know how to write a contract, right? But not so long that they're, say, set in their ways and they've been influenced by what experience does for you, right? And the point here is to then dwindle down that list. So if you recall, we started with almost 5,000 agents. We just cut this list down by 90%. But we still don't know if this is the right group of 500 agents. Still a lot to chew off. So what we can then do is put in a couple of exclusions. First and foremost, we can exclude, for example, anyone at eXp. Very importantly, we can also then exclude anyone who's a broker or a manager or leads a different team. I'll pose a question to the group. Have you guys ever made recruiting calls or sent out emails and you call it, unfortunately, got a broker or a team leader on the other line? Has that happened before? Come on, don't be shy in the comments. I'm sure there's people who've run into that. Well, we see that all the time, right? And part of, there we go, John, thank you. So we see that all the time. And part of, Stacy, thank you. Part of, utilizing data to your advantage is to say, well, maybe I want to go after these brokers or team leaders. But if I'm specifically looking at agents, I want to make sure that my top of funnel is as qualified as possible. So that way you can choose to include or exclude them, so your efforts are as precise as possible. Now, I'll pose another question to the group. Have you ever had a recruiting conversation where the agent, the broker, the team leader on the other line said, listen, I'm working on 4 or 5 deals right now. I expect to be paid out on them, say, by next Monday. Call me on Tuesday and we're going to have a great conversation. Then what happens? You call them on Tuesday and they're working on 2 or 3 more deals. Has that happened before? The timeline gets kind of elongated because folks you're speaking to are waiting on commission checks, or they're busy, or maybe they're working on a contractor to touch up an open house. Have you seen that before? I see a couple people who aren't too shy. Stacy, John, Kimberly, perfect. So here's one thing that we are able to do, right? We can go in and actually quickly determine who is it of this list of 500 that today has nothing active or pending. They're not waiting on a commission check. If they give you that story, you know it's not truthful, right? And then you could even tie in a bit of a wrinkle to say, of this productive group who's been in the business at least 1 year, if not less than 6 years, done 2 to 8 deals in the last 12 months, and they're not busy right now, who is it that actually hasn't seen a commission check from real estate in the last 90 days? That's a long time. Here in New York, it was like 75 degrees 90 days ago. And now what we're able to do is siphon down a list, in this case in Memphis, from 5,000 agents down to the 96 agents today who are productive, they have some experience, but they're not working on anything. And they haven't had a pipeline since, again, it's almost 30 degrees here in New York. It was 75 degrees. That's a long, long time. So the idea here is now you have a top of funnel that will be engaged. And what you can do is then say, well, of this particular group, is there a subset of agents that might be hurting? The market has been topsy-turvy, to say the least, and especially towards the holiday season. They look at the gifts that they've been able to get for their families. They do status reports to compare 24 versus 25, and then they forecast out what's going to happen in 26. Well, you can quickly see that these are all individuals who have not had the year that they had expected based off of what they had done in the previous year. And then it's really easy to learn about them. So we can go into any or all of these folks. I'm not here to pick on an individual. If you happen to know them, I promise it's not personal, but I'm going to select someone like Hart here. When you do so, you can quickly learn about who this individual is. What I think of as a battle card to say that they're a $1.4 million producer who's down almost 80%. Why is that the case? Well, they've slid down market just a bit. You can then get in a great sense of their history, right? So they've been a part of this brokerage for almost 6 years. They were consistently a $4 million producer until 2023, when they almost doubled their output, right? Landing just north of 9. It took a bit of a slide here in 2024. And then this year, it hasn't been all too hot. To validate that original search we had put in, right? We can very quickly see that this agent is not busy. They have nothing active, pending, or under contract. And once again, let's take a look. Well, this individual has not closed a deal since June. Very, very long time. And their last at bat here in Germantown, the transaction had expired. Looks like a beautiful home. I wish they were able to sell it. Maybe they'll be able to do so under the purview of you folks there at EXP. So now that you have a great sense of what the truth is today for someone like Hart, you can get a relevant understanding as to where they actually operate. Well, over the course of their career, it looks like they happen to do so all throughout Memphis. And specifically speaking, right, they've had a lot of opportunity, but 46% of which has come there in Memphis. Almost 75% of which has come between Germantown and Memphis. And from a price point perspective, you'll see that their bread and butter is from that $250,000 to $500,000 mark. So it's great to have all this information. Again, real-time information is the key, so then you could take action and start with a personalized way to reach out to these individuals. And just like we had done before, what we can do is in one button, instead of spending 3, 5, or 7 minutes figuring out what I would say to someone like Hart, in one button, what this will do is aggregate all of that information to specifically speak as to what's relevant there for this individual. Where very, very quickly, right, it references a recent deal. It talks about the market there and what's happening specifically in Germantown. You can make sure that this is extremely genuine. I would suggest that some folks, if and when you decide to have a conversation with us, try to stress test this, where you can put in a number of custom instructions to make sure it's genuine to who you are. When I do these webinars, I always like to joke around. So you could say, hey, I want to sound like Matthew McConaughey, or maybe I want to be sarcastic, right? So in this case, I'm going to be sarcastic, and I'm a New Yorker. I'm from New Jersey. So let's sound a little bit like Tony Soprano. And very, very quickly, this will be very, very genuine to any sort of instruction that you give. So you'll see, look at you, closing big. Never would have guessed, huh? What's your secret sauce these days? And part of what we do is attempt to make your voice as genuine to every single agent you're hoping to interact with every single time you want to have a conversation regarding a productive agent that can be valuable for you. I'm going to hit the brakes here for a second. There's 2 other things I want to highlight. The first is how we stay organized and our follow-up process, which we had started with. And then secondly is taking a bit of a glimpse at your office dynamics and how that could be relevant for you. Before I do that, can I get a couple of thumbs up or a couple of questions or a couple, hey, this isn't too great? Tell me how the crowd is feeling. I'd love to hear from the audience here. Thank you, Stacy. Serge, currently we are not in Canada. Would love to chat through that with you. Bart and Grady, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Keep on chiming in. Challenge me. I'm here for a good conversation. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Jeremy. Keep them coming. So now that we have real-time information, we're able to figure out who's productive, but maybe vulnerable today. We have a way of genuinely reaching out in a personalized way to every agent. We now need to track it all. So in building out these scripts, right, everything will then be logged to this profile. You can take a note. and say, Hart loves his golden doodle. Reference it on the next call. You got to take notes. It's the best way to have genuine, again, conversations. I keep using that word. That's what converts in recruiting. You then have to start tracking things. So the first thing that I can do is track the fact that I need to re-engage this individual. So I need to call them again in 3 days and ask how their holiday party went. It was Thursday, right? All to make sure that you're staying top of mind and ensuring that you are truly listening to the people you're hoping to interact with. Now, once you've done this, you can ensure that this person isn't going anywhere. And the way to do so is by setting statuses. If you guys have ever utilized a CRM for selling, or even a spreadsheet, or a HubSpot, or a Salesforce, or really anything that keeps you organized to be a productive agent or a productive salesperson, you have to make sure that you're then tracking all of your progress. So in this case, what we can do is state that, in fact, we had contacted someone like Hart, right? And moving forward, I'm the one who's responsible for recruiting them. If you operate in a team capacity, you can very easily tag teammates as well as make sure that you don't have any sharp elbows, knowing that, of course, recruiting can be a team game, but you don't want to cross any wires. So here you'll see it's all pinned to the profile, and then you can stay very, very apprised as to what kind of status as well as traction you have made. So that individual, as well as many other individuals that I've interacted with, are now within my pipeline. You can see across the top, there are different stages of my pipeline where I've connected with 40 people. I've held meetings with 25 folks accounting for $420 million in production. And I have contracts out to 21 agents. And I now know that if I needed to prioritize making a couple of calls today, I can sort this to say, well, who is it that might be on my radar that hasn't heard from me of late? Well, someone like Ethan here is a $16 million producer. We last spoke back in September. I got to wish him a happy holidays and learn a bit more about what he's been up to, especially given that his potential to move score is high. Sometimes I'll lead with this. Sometimes I'll sprinkle this in towards the back half of the conversation. But that potential to move score, one thing that we do on top of organizing all of this data and presenting it is actually predict which agents are going to move and which are not, right? So the difference between, say, someone like Ethan and someone like Gary is a couple of things. In these predictive algorithms, we're actually able to identify which agents are going to move by really three main factors. The first is what's happening on the production side. Did the agent just have the best year of their career and maybe looking for a better split? Did they have a horrible year, right? And they're looking at their broker saying, hey, you know what, the grass wasn't greener. What's happening here? The second thing we look at is tenure and experience. So let's pick someone else, someone like Michael, right? Michael here, $3.5 million producer. It could be the case that he changes brokerages every 2 years, and he's approaching his 2-year anniversary at Momentum Realty, and he maybe hasn't had a lot of production of late. So that thematic approach to see that somebody moves every 2 years, we're able to determine that and say, hey, this person looks like many others who've, say, shifted before. And then the last thing we take into account is what's happening at the office level, which is a very, very important pillar of this algorithm, to say, hey, did their managing broker leave? Are they part of an office that's losing a lot of agents or losing a lot of market share, right? As I'm sure many of you know, what's happening at the brick and mortar office level or any office level could certainly be indicative of whether or not people are successful or if they stay or if they leave. So we have a lot of AI that's scattered throughout the system, whether it be on the generative front that gives you those scripts or on the back end predictive fronts to tell you, hey, who is more likely to move than others. But back to the scheduled program, we had, again, started with real-time information. We then had a personalized way to follow up with folks. And now we're able to stay structured in our follow-up approach. But one thing that we do that's a bit different than others is this. I think of this pipeline as your file cabinet next to you. Anytime you want to open up that file cabinet, what's easiest if those notable achievements across, in this case, 260 people, jumped off the page and told you exactly what to say for a reason that was of a celebratory capacity. So what we do is we, again, start to organize everything here to make sure that the people that are on that list actually show up every single day for things that have happened in their career. So taking a look, we've now pivoted from Memphis over to Miami. Clearly, I'm thinking about warm weather here. You can see that Brian, Sylvia, and Jamie, these are folks who are not a part of EXP. These are people you're hoping to recruit. They just had the highest listings of their career. Someone like Sylvia also happened to have had the highest closed sale of their career. Look at that. So Sylvia here had the highest closed sale of her career a week ago. And on the heels of that, just secured the highest listing of their career. That is a killer December for someone like Sylvia, right? And what we find is that celebratory moments and celebrating agents is almost like wishing someone a happy birthday. And follow me here. If you're the first person to wish someone a happy birthday, or someone's the first person to wish you a happy birthday, you remember that. Just like with these achievements, if you're able to congratulate an agent on an achievement they had and do so in a very simple way before their broker, manager, supervisor, anyone in their sphere is even aware that something has happened, that'll all pop up here. So for example, I want to give Sylvia a call. What I'm going to do is click on that one button as I had just done here, and you'll very quickly see that once again, this is not a message that's intended for every single agent, nor is it for most agents in Miami. This is very, very specific to say, hey, this is Jason from EXP. First off, congrats on closing your Isle of Palms drive. It looks like you have a lot of solid numbers. What's been working for you with the listings? We would love to hear about your approach there in Fort Lauderdale. So it's all very, very specific. And Judy, to your question there, is there a closing reason for pipeline alerts? So in these pipeline alerts, there are numerous, what I would call definitions that keep you updated on different changes in your prospects' businesses, from highest listing of their career to first listing in a new zip code to first activity in the last 90 days. But it's not just those notable moments, it's the everyday activities. So we will also show for you what you could think of like a Facebook style activity feed for every single agent that you're tracking to see details related to rentals, things going pending, closed transactions, anything that's been withdrawn or expired, all of this to make sure that you are the first person to know of this information, and more importantly, the first individual to take action celebrating or supporting an agent who is currently outside of your sphere with the intention, of course, bringing them into your sphere. I see we got 3 minutes. I know this has been recorded and will be posted on YouTube. Before we check out here, let's fire up the comments here. Let's keep them rolling. I know that our lovely team and support aspect here, Teen and Co at EXP will be sharing our calendar link. We have growth experts who specifically work with states in their entirety. So whether I saw before you were in Florida or Kentucky or in Colorado, you would actually be working with and having a conversation with our growth expert in that specific state, who is not only apprised of the market, but is very much apprised of what the objectives are in every step of the equation. I appreciate the kind words, Stacy and Bart. I see a couple of questions related to price. When it comes to price, here's how we operate. We partner with folks on an annualized basis. However, it's typically paid for in monthly installments. When it comes to how we price it out, it's very simple. How many MLSs do you need access to, and how many people will be in the system? As a part of EXP, you guys get north of a 50% discount off of our retail pricing. But just like with anything else related to price, I don't want to give you the price for a Ferrari when you're looking to purchase a bicycle. That's the wrong way to go about it, right? And I know that there's a lot of priority when it comes to MLSs, users, and support. So I would love to have individual conversations with each of you. I promise you guys will all be receiving the same price in those individual conversations that you get. It's just a function of, again, how many unique individuals will be in the system and the MLSs that you will then need access to. Aaron, I see a question here about integrations. We do have an open and active API. Shoot me a note. Would love to chat about GHL. Currently, the answer is no. Judy, I think we had answered that question before, and we're now on that screen here today. We got 30 seconds in. Let's let's make sure that everybody here gets their questions answered. If not, Teen has been very kind as to, again, drop the calendar link into the chat here. On that calendar link, you'd be able to book a call with our growth experts here at Corded. And in regards to average numbers of recruits, they're pretty high. You'll see it's advertised on our website, but the average customer is seeing a 20x ROI on an investment in a tool like this. And I think you could quickly see as to how and why that's the case. So whether your goal is to grow your organization by dozens and dozens, grow your team by say 2 or 3-fold, or even a couple of agents, or even just replace an agent that say is of a certain speaking capacity or operates in a specific market. Those are all things that we absolutely are not unfamiliar with. We're very much accustomed to all of those conversations, and we'd love to help. Again, thank you all so much for your time. I'm sure you're all very, very busy here on this Wednesday. If you're on the East Coast, stay warm. If you're on the West Coast or in the South, I'm very jealous. Have a great holiday season. I look forward to hopefully speaking with each and every one of you. And again, if you need anything, we're always here to support. Thanks again, guys. Have a great one.